This is Real American News, brought to you by the Real American News Network. You won't have to fact check, cause it's not fake news, it's Real American News.
Brought to you by the news network you can trust.
Hi guys, Alex Stranger here. And welcome to the inaugural episode of the Real American News Network. Normally, I would do these news broadcasts in a suit and a tie, but the cleaners, they were on lockdown due to the Chinese virus. I mean, you cannot go anywhere without it being completely shut down. We are free from all corporate funding. As many of you guys are aware, the entire news media, they are controlled by the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, Hillary Clinton, George Soros, Bill Gates, the Clinton Foundation. We are free of all corporate influence. We don't receive any donations from big oil, big tech, big pharma, the financial institutions. George Soros has given us $0. We depend largely on people like you to keep us afloat, so please Venmo at Alexander-Stranger if you would like to keep this going. China has unleashed a bioweapon, a global pandemic. They've patented everything. Bill Gates has received billions of dollars in grants from the Pirbright Institute. The Event 201 in October, they predicted a global pandemic. They planned for this. They planned to shut down the economy. You had senators and congressmen selling large chunks of stock in briefings that were only known to members of the White House. They canceled South by Southwest. Coachella's canceled. There's no NBA. There's no NHL. There's no Major League Baseball. Mixed martial arts. But what they're really doing is they're trying to keep you isolated so that they can institute global tyranny. Global tyranny and create martial law and force us into the new world order of one world government. And while you're in your house consuming mass media, depressed like a caged animal, Beto O'Rourke and Joe Biden, they're going to come and take your guns. You have George Soros, you have the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization, we all know they are bought and paid for by the Chinese government. They're trying to argue about calling this a Chinese virus, even though it originated in China, it spread in China, and China deliberately suppressed information about the virus and exposed their entire population to the devastating effects of COVID-19, and now we have a global pandemic, and now they're trying to paint themselves as the savior, and they're trying to make it seem like you're the bad guy when you call it the Chinese virus. This is a test for the globalists to enforce authoritarian communism onto all of us, onto the American people. And I'm going to tell you this will not happen. We will not stand for this. We are proud Americans. Notice how there are no more protests in Hong Kong since the Chinese virus hit. Notice how nobody's talking about Jeffrey Epstein. You know, Jeffrey Epstein, he was a financier and conducted a massive pedophile organization, a massive pedophile ring. And this ring consisted of members of Congress, the Senate, presidents, people in the United Nations, and even royalty. Bill Gates visited Jeffrey Epstein's island on numerous times and gave him billions of dollars even after he was in prison for sex trafficking little kids, you know? He had a whole list of people that he was going to incriminate when he went to trial, and he was going to bring down an entire pedophile operation. Then he conveniently wound up hanging himself after the two guards took identical breaks when they had the most high-profile prisoner in their cell. Come on, guys. But guess what? We got this virus now. Nobody is talking about that. So they're locking down the cities. Nothing about the fact that you have an influx of homeless people who are literally the most vulnerable when it comes to getting this Chinese virus. You know, they're sitting in tents. They're addicted to drugs. Their immune systems are severely compromised. It leaves a lot of these Austin establishments and many establishments throughout the United States just wide open to break in. This is a global drill. This is designed to bring Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 into the mainstream. This is a blueprint and a test for the new world order. The fact that we're willing to give up our rights because of this will never be forgotten. The next time this happens, well, it will not be a test. We talked about the fact that we have social distancing going on, and we're limiting gatherings to no more than 10 people. Restaurant owners could receive thousands of dollars in fines if they opened up their businesses. But, you know, if you break into one of those businesses, nothing is going to happen to you, and this is what's happening. We're creating a national pandemic. We're legalizing crime. This is basically the purge is coming true right now as a result of all the stuff these globalists are doing. They're literally just trying to create chaos so they can introduce martial law onto the American people. We're in a presidential election right now, people. Donald Trump, the economy was soaring. America is great. Jobs were at an all-time high. Our economy has never been better. On the Democratic side, you had Bernie Sanders, you had Joe Biden, and the Democrats did everything in their power to stop Bernie Sanders from taking the Democratic nomination home. And Bernie Sanders, like Trump, was a candidate who wasn't really bought and paid for. He was a candidate who spoke for the people. They silenced Bernie Sanders. And now these Democratic leaders, they're the ones instituting martial law and fascism on their cities and their states right now. This is a deliberate plan to crash the economy so that Donald Trump doesn't get reelected. But it's more than that. It's not about sabotaging Donald Trump. It's about getting globalist, pedophile, demented Joe Biden into office so that Hillary Clinton and George Soros can invoke the 25th Amendment and use this as a real blueprint for creating martial law. I'm Alex Strenger, reporting for the Real American News Network, and you guys are all great Americans. Hi, and welcome to the traffic and weather portion of the Real American News Network. I'm standing outside what is normally a busy street here in Austin, Texas, but the streets and the roads, they are completely empty due to the quarantine that we are currently under. Right now, I'm stuck in the middle of a torrential downpour. That is not due to the normal climate here in the springtime in Austin, but rather due to the stratospheric aerosol injections that are being brought upon us by the United States Air Force as well as the government, putting barium, aluminum, strontium, and other toxic metallic chemicals into the atmosphere in order to cause brain damage, Alzheimer's, mental illness, and a whole various other set of physical ailments to make us entirely dependent upon Big Pharma. I'm going to tell you this, when this thing is all over, stock prices in all the pharmaceutical companies, they are going to skyrocket. Not only because they're going to come up with a vaccine for a disease that they already developed, and they're going to make us take it, and they're going to put RFID chips inside of us to make sure that we're actually fully vaccinated, but also because everyone's going to get even more mentally ill consuming fake news while they're cooped up in their apartments. They're going to get mentally ill. They're going to have a bunch of physical problems breathing in the toxic air from the chemtrails being sprayed upon us by the various airplanes that are spraying our atmosphere. We are also going to be fully dependent upon Big Pharma as a result of breathing in the air that has been poisoned by the United States Air Force and the CIA spraying these toxic, metallic, poisonous chemicals into our atmosphere. This is all a ploy by Big Pharma and the United States government to depopulate the planet as well as make us more dependent upon harmful pharmaceutical substances for the sake of turning corporate profits and further perpetuating the New World Order.
Coming to you with another segment of Fake News or Not Fake News. Inside sources now believe that Senator Elizabeth Warren has contracted the COVID-19 coronavirus as well as her husband and may be quarantined at her place in Massachusetts. I have special correspondent with me, Alex Strenger, with more info on this breaking news story.
Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Nancy Yancey. And
yes,
this is actually
coming on.
Yes, absolutely.
It's an honor.
This is an honor and a privilege. You know, there's no greater pleasure than to inform the American people as to what's really going on right now. You know, former presidential candidate Elizabeth Warren, she has been officially diagnosed with the Chinese coronavirus, and she is, yes, now under quarantine with her husband. What's even more fascinating is that T-Mobile and AT&T are building 5G towers within a mile and a half of her address of where she lives. So this is a hotspot for 5G. So there, numerous scientists have warned us about the links between 5G and catching the Chinese virus. What are your thoughts?
The interesting thing about this story is sources are now looking into neighbors in the surrounding parts of where her home is, and we are all finding out that they are slowly but surely having symptoms, but no reported cases as of right now. So there are links right now that lead us to believe that 5G is the real culprit here, and they're blaming it on China.
Well, and I just want to add to that, Ms. Yancey, that every single person on Ms. Warren's Native American reservation is right now under quarantine.
Really?
Yes.
Breaking news.
This is an established fact from my trusted inside sources, which you do not need to fact check.
You don't need to fact check anything, he's right. But for more news, stay tuned and we'll have more on this breaking story. For the news you can trust.
'Cause it's not fake news, it's real American news.